In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to DebateCrypto.
Crypto fam, it's your boy CryptoKeeper, and as always, the Bitcoin Crusader. I caught it, Miguel. I caught it. I literally looked down. I said, that looks different. It should say blockchain. Apparently, he has changed his name to the Bitcoin Crusader.
So many people keep saying it, right? Got to give what people want.
All right. Well, we're glad to see that you are still a maxi, and actually, I think you might be in good company tonight because word on the street is Rion Crypto's got a few Bitcoin as well. So we have a special guest this evening on What If Wednesday. Rion Crypto, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, guys. How are you?
Glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. Crypto fam, we are going to, if you're not already subscribed, just as a reminder, we're giving away $500 on December 23rd. All you have to do is be subscribed. It's literally that simple. If you can't figure that out, well, then I guess you don't deserve the Christmas present, right? If you are in the live chat, smash the likes. That always helps tell YouTube that you love what we are doing. So tonight, we're going to talk about somewhat Fed Chair Jerome Powell, that sleaze, but I mean, that great guy earlier was talking about today. We're going to get into that, into the Fed meeting there. We are going to talk with Rion, talk about some of the stuff that he's doing, what he's got going on in his neck of the woods. And then we're actually going to get into, towards the end, the What If Wednesday part this evening. And that is, what if the cyber pandemic actually does play out? They've been talking about it. What if it actually plays out? So make sure you guys do your thing. Make sure you follow, subscribe, do all the things. If you're on TikTok, YouTube, wherever you're at, we appreciate all of the love. So let's kick it off. Rion, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people who you are, what you're doing, what you got going on.
All right, what's going on, guys? So I am Rion, but I guess my what are those called? Screen names, I guess.
Your handle?
My handle. I hate saying the word handle though. I don't know why, but
it's a trucker thing.
Yeah. So my handle is Rion Crypto, and I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I know people are gonna hate me for that, but I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I do dabble into altcoins, but yeah, I've been in the crypto space for about it's going on 8 years now, and it's been a fantastic journey. A lot of wins, definitely a lot of losses as well. But one thing that it's definitely done is brought me in company of great people. So I'm definitely happy to be here. Happy to talk to you guys about all things crypto.
That's what's up, man. We're excited to have you on. We've been doing a lot lately, and Miguel is always talking about freaking Bitcoin so much. I said, listen, bro, we're gonna have to bring on Rion because I don't know that anybody else loves Bitcoin quite as much as you and Rion. So I mean,
Tom Crown,
what's not to
Bitcoin
love?
maxi, right? Rion, Bitcoin maxi.
I think Tom Crown would consider himself more of a Bitcoin medium. A Bitcoin medium. Yeah. But at any event, super excited to have you on. So tell me, you are on TikTok as Rion Crypto. You are on YouTube. Tell me what the handles are and what you got going on. I think you've got a podcast too, right?
Yes, I do have a podcast. The podcast is called The Huddle Neighborhood. So that is supposed to be more of an introductory space. It's tailored for newbies, just so that they can get the crypto updates, as well as just a little bit of information on how to kind of navigate the crypto space, because it can be confusing. And so that's kind of what we do there. Occasionally there's interviews and things like that, but for the most part, it's just how-tos. How do you do this? How do you do that?
Nice.
And then in addition to that, I am on TikTok. I took a little break from TikTok. Still trying to navigate their algorithm. It seems to change every other day, especially for us crypto people. They hate us. So I am on TikTok as Ri.On Crypto. So there's like 400 impersonater pages.
Is that all?
Well, that's all that's my block list so far. So I mean, if they haven't commented, then I don't know. I haven't blocked them yet, but there's quite a few. I am on Instagram as Rion Crypto, Twitter, Rion Crypto. So every handle is Rion Crypto except for stupid TikTok.
Well, let's talk about the meeting today. So, just as an introduction, for anyone that didn't see it, the Fed had a little powwow today, and a lot of people watched it and I think understood that they're full of crap. But let me explain a little bit of why there was what was all the big shakeup about, right? The Fed has what's called an FFR, that's a federal funding rate. And here's how it looks. When a bank needs to loan money elsewhere, they have to get the funds from somewhere else initially. Okay. That money comes from a central entity like the Federal Reserve. Well, there are interest rates attached to that. And basically, the lower those interest rates are, the lower the rates are that they are able to pass along to us, the consumer, right? So let's put it this way, the rates are between 0% and 0.25% right now, which makes mortgages extremely low, right? My wife and I bought a new house recently, and I think our rate is like 1.93% or 2.1. It's very low, stupid low, right? And the reason for that is because the Fed has that low on the funding rate, that straight 0 to 0.25. However, it has a lot of negative impact as well. Okay. But just to kind of give you a little bit of a little bit of balance, or a little bit of understanding a little better, the Fed wants to make money too. They are a private entity. Okay. So if the Fed was dishing out, 6% to the banks got to make money too. So now the banks are going to pass along 8%, 9% to you. So whenever the talks come about that the rates might be raising, that's those funding rates, the FFR, the federal funding rates, everybody gets all up in a tiff, because ultimately it does affect everything cascading down. Now, I heard a lot of craziness and chaos today. Miguel, what did you hear that you actually resonated with? Do you think it was good, bad, indifferent for the market? I mean, we saw price jumps, but what did you think?
I think what resonated the most was the fact that he said that cryptocurrencies were not a threat to the dollar. That right there was that's a big fat lie, right? They're shitting their pants, right?
Yeah.
That they're worried about it. They're worried about DeFi. They're worried about what the crypto space is doing. So the fact that they have to continuously keep coming out and saying, "Don't worry, guys, don't panic. It's not a threat." In the back of their minds and behind closed doors, they're talking about like, "Man, this is a problem."
Yeah, I totally agree. Ryan, are you? When you watch Jerome Powell, I know you watched some of this earlier today. How does it make you feel? It makes me feel a certain type of way. How does it make you feel when you hear him talk?
Annoyed. In one word, just annoyed. Because
why?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it, okay, so all of these figureheads in the political realm, they all say the same things, you know what I mean? And I don't like Jerome Powell just because he's the exact same as Janet Yellen. And he and Janet Yellen have the exact same talking points every single time.
Yeah.
And it's always that cryptocurrency's bad, the dollar's good. And we're, we're tapering, we're doing all of these things to protect consumers, protect the dollar. No, you're not. You're doing everything humanly possible to destroy the currency. The dollar is not going to stay the world reserve currency. It can't. I mean, just everything is plummeting behind it. So when I hear Jerome Powell talk, it just speaks to the oligarchy that we currently have and the power structures that need to die. And so I'm happy that he's saying the things that he's saying, just because it is BS and people will recognize that it is BS. I think a lot of people are starting to tune in now a lot more than they were before, that everything that Jerome Powell, everything that comes out of his mouth is indeed a lie. Anything that Janet Yellen has to say is another lie. So, I mean, you eventually have to get to the point where you're just telling lies on top of lies. So like you said, Miguel, they're telling themselves that all of these things like, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they're not a threat. You have to lie to yourself, in order to save face on camera. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're just trying to maintain while they figure out what's going on. So the best possible course of action for everyone is we just have to overthrow the system. So do that peacefully. And I'm going to throw my Bitcoin maxi in here and do that peacefully and just opt out and buy some Bitcoin.
So okay, so hold on. So part of what you just said was that the dollar cannot remain the world reserve currency. So let me touch on that real quick. Here's the reason I have a problem with that statement. And it's not because I don't agree with you on the level that we have absolutely screwed ourselves, okay? I am 100% on board with you. The fact that we've been printing all of this money, it's not like just a little bit of money. We're talking about a lot of trillions of dollars, trillion with a T. I think a lot of times people don't realize how much money that is. It's just like a number that's thrown out there. And it's like, listen,
we're desensitized to it, right? We've
Yeah.
been numbed, right? We owe like over $27 trillion, right? We hear about $1 trillion this, $1 trillion that. Must not be a lot since they need it all the freaking time, right? It's almost like asking for another $20 bill to your friend every other day. I bet it's not a lot of money, right? It runs out like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you explain to somebody, they're like, you know, do you think $1 million is a lot of money? Well, yeah, it's a lot of money. Okay. You know, and you try to grasp what $1 million looks like. Okay, whatever. But it's not really that much money. It's a lot of money, whatever. But it's literally a million 1 millions, right? That is absolutely insane, right? And so because 10, you're at 10 million, 100, you're at 100 million, 1,000 of them, you're at 1 billion, and then 100,000, you're at 100 billion. You literally 1 million 1 millions to get to 1 trillion. Now, we owe 27 of those. Okay. So we owe 27 million millions is what we owe right now.
And growing.
And I think the thing is like simple economics says, look, supply and demand. The supply is absolutely out of control. So when I hear them say, and here was the one that got me today, that I was just like, that is a freaking lie. He started to like, it's like they want something to point at. So he started to say, this was not the inflation that we anticipated. Like what? Different? Like it literally is like, hey, I tee up a golf ball, I pull back my driver, I swing through the ball, and I don't expect the ball to move anywhere. That's freaking ignorant, right? And that's exactly what it is. They teed it up. They knew what they were doing, right? Albeit, I do think on the front end, it was just trying to kick the can, like, hey, we've got a bad situation. We need to figure this out. But at the end of the day, I have a really hard time not believing that this whole thing, because I don't think these people are actually stupid. I have a hard time believing that this whole thing was not just one big, you know, finesse of the system to get where the powers that be really want to be. I don't know. I have a hard time with it for sure.
I completely agree that it is orchestrated, right? It's been orchestrated since the minute we came off the gold standard. The reason why we came off the gold standard was because they realized that during World War II, you know, and during other times in government, when the government needed more money, they couldn't print more because they needed to have a certain amount in reserves to back those dollars, right? The minute they detached the dollar from gold, now they just got to turn the money printer on, and that's it, right? What did the president Biden, right? Brandon just said the other day. He said the United States always pays its debts. A day and a half later, raising the debt ceiling by $2.5 trillion. So how do you pay your debts? Hey, let's just print more money.
But you know what? And actually, that's a great point, Miguel. But what I was trying to get at with Ryan saying that he thinks that the dollar can't stay the world reserve currency. Here's why I would disagree with that. I believe that we would be cutting off our nose to spite our face. What I mean is that the entire world, I believe, would effectively collapse on itself if the actual dollar collapses. We need that, like where are we going to go? You can't listen, I would love it because, you know, I'm all up into Bitcoin as well. I can't possibly come to the realization or the idea that our government that is so power hungry, right, that controls the whole world, is going to give some sort of decentralized system, like just give the control of the money back to the people. I got 2 words for that. Hell no. They're just not going to do it. So I just can't see an idea where another currency comes into play except for maybe a stable coin, right? And if so, it's going to take a huge orchestration, I think, to get us to where that is going to work out. How do you see that, Ryan? Like, how do you see saying like, hey, I don't think it can stay the world reserve currency. What happens? What's that look like?
I mean, honestly, I don't see it happening immediately. If we just, I mean, if it's any attest to what just happened with the congressional hearings, it is clear that our government has no idea what the hell blockchain technology is. They have no idea what Web3 is. And they don't like the general premise of it, which is, like you said, decentralized, ledgers that, that empower the people. So in order for I wouldn't even say that Bitcoin. I mean, if the U.S. government was smart, what they would do is, in order to maintain world reserve currency status, and being the powerhouse and being power and money hungry as they are, it would take them to. I mean, we've been receptive. I mean, they've allowed, because you see that China has banned, the Bitcoin mining. It would make
Every other
sense
day.
for them. Yeah, exactly. Every other day, China bans. It's not even news anymore at this point. It's just kind of everyday things. The sun rises and falls, and so does China banning Bitcoin. So it's just what happens. But
Right.
if the U.S., I believe if the U.S. will embrace crypto, opposed to always just trying to see it from a regulatory perspective, obviously there needs to be a little bit of regulation. I personally don't like the idea of regulation, but obviously people need to be protected from all of the shit coins and things like that. So they're
Right.
going to step in. But if the government wants to do something, what they should do is embrace an idea of a stable coin opposed to a central bank coin, because what we're going to see is their digital currency. I mean, that's not an open ledger. I think so many more people will be receptive to the idea of moving the world reserve currency to something that is transparent. So we'll see. Like you said, they're not stupid. So if
Right.
they've got to, ultimately they just have to, I think, really just move the needle with the amount of people in Congress that are just so opposed to it. And that would be places like, for instance, like the congressional hearing. Again, I'll go back to that. There were tons of people, more so on the left, the Democratic side, who really were against cryptocurrency. And I just can't see why. We're not destroying the infrastructure of the traditional financial system. If anything, we're just building on top of it. So why not embrace a technology that you could do that with? I don't understand where their end game is, because if they completely just outlaw it, ban it, I mean, essentially, we're going to be as competitive as China.
Yeah, that's a good point, Miguel.
Where I see it going is, and the reason why, Nick, I think, whether it's Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency will become the world reserve currency, and the U.S. dollar will no longer be the currency of the world, is because most people, when they think about this and they think about governments and they think about, well, the China government, the Russian government, the United States government, all the powers they're competing against each other. When you think about it in those aspects, you're playing checkers. And we need to remember that there are globalists out there, elites, right? That they are playing chess, and there is no border to them. There is no number one country for them. There is just one control, right? One government. That is the future, right? And what better way to do that without having a currency that is ran by one government? Another thing we need to realize is all empires fall. We have this illusion in our mind that the United States cannot lose its number one place in the world. It can, and it could most likely happen if it keeps going the way it is, right? We're having more and more what's the word? Not uprising, but more feuds between the people in the country, right? The politics, everybody's divided. The country's divided in many different ways, political, religious, all kinds of different ways. The morale of the country no longer exists there, how it was before when people were more patriotic to the nations, so on, yada, yada, right? All that stuff's been happening. So the United States does not need to remain number one, and it most likely won't. All empires in history have fallen. All currencies in history have gone to zero. So the U.S. dollar can go to zero. The United States can lose its status. And at the end of the day, the globalists are aiming for a one world government with a one world currency. And it's better to be a decentralized currency than having a currency that's ran by one government.
So I think this actually kind of takes us into some of our what if topic, and let me kind of segue this here. I believe that something absolutely out of this freaking world would have to happen for the United States dollar to lose its position of power, to lose its position as the world reserve currency. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure the Romans thought the same thing when they were running the world, right? Something crazy out of this world needs to happen for us to lose, right? I'm sure Napoleon thought the same thing. Genghis Khan must have thought the same thing at some point. Alexander the Great, right?
And they all
They all fall.
They all fell, and most of them lost a war, right? So
Yeah.
I believe that you keep here. Okay, let's back up. Pre-pandemic, right? 2019 or whatever, they were having meetings about what to do in case of a global pandemic, right? The elites, right? It's just really curious the amount of time in between some of these strategic meetings, right? And some of the things that have happened. I'm not going to get my tinfoil hat on or do any of the craziness, right? But what I'm trying to say is that, damn, right? So fast forward now, okay? Side note, I don't think any of what I just said was tinfoil, but I'll leave that alone. So now, what have we been hearing lately? We've been hearing cyber pandemic as like this buzzword, right?
Yeah.
We need to prepare. I mean, Brandon's been talking about it. The Speaker of the House is talking about it. Bill Gates has talked about it. All of
Jerome
the people
Powell
that
talked about it
Jerome
today.
Powell talking about it. You probably don't want to hear all of these people talking about this because it almost feels like they're programming. It feels like it's predictive programming. You hear a lot of times where, like, you watch a movie, for instance, and they toss these little tidbits in. And if you watch the movie again after having the facts, you're like, oh, yep, that right there. That was kind of given, right? Oh, man, I didn't even catch, right? And so all of that's happening. And I feel like it's happening now in real life. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, what's the end game with a cyber pandemic, right? Ultimately, the only thing that I can come to is that because think about it, if the actual internet was let's just say the internet gets literally shut down, right? Internet's down. Every single person on this stream that has a bank account right now is not going to have access to funds, and we're going to be back to, for a short amount of time, bartering. We have to, because if you think for 1 second that you're going to be able to walk into your bank and they're going to pull out a paper ledger and say, oh, Mr. Dye, you have this much. No, not happening, right? This is why I hold a hardware wallet or multiple hardware wallets, right? This is part of the reason why I do, because I don't want this possibility out there to happen. But what I come to is the conclusion that if the goal is to dethrone the dollar and the goal is to have one world order, a new world order, as you hear it said a lot, something has to totally wipe out the structure of government and the world as we know it. And I think that the internet, all of a sudden, not being available for a while, us not being able to communicate. Miguel talked about it before. If you want to rally right now to start a war, so to speak, I couldn't. How am I going to call? How am I going to call Miguel? How am I going to talk to Ryan? How are we going to talk through these ideas? You're not going to be able to if literally they shut down the system. And I feel like that would be the opportunity to create the chaos, to possibly make the changes that need to be made. I don't know. Do I sound absolutely off my?
I'll let Ryan take it first before I jump in.
No, I don't think that you sound crazy at all. And I think as far as like a cyber pandemic, I mean, if we were to basically have the internet shut down, I think that that's highly unlikely. Just because even as you said, like even the power structures, they need the internet as well. So I don't think that that will happen. What I do think will happen is that what they will try to do is just outlaw all things Web3, just because Web3 moves into centralization. Web2 is more so of a centralized powerhouse, and it is monopolized by some of the largest companies on the planet. So I think as long as they can taper off and keep people from accessing Web3, or just, like start just dropping the hammer on a lot of Web3 emerging like entrepreneurs that are looking to decentralize everything, I think that they win at that point, because I think it'll scare retail. Most retailers will not want to get into the space. They will stay away, and for that reason, that will keep people tethered to the dollar. You know, if they don't want to make a transition, or if they don't want to adopt a new system, then you automatically, I mean, the whole government, their whole I guess their whole goal is to paralyze the people. I've been reading some things like in the chat, and a lot of people are talking about, you know, like the American dream is reserved for those that are sleeping. So if you leave people in paralysis, I mean, it's true. It really is true. So if you leave people in paralysis, you don't have to start a war. You don't. The only thing that you have to do is just keep them incubated so that they cannot do anything else. And they can't think about anything else because you're shoving, what is it? The media shoving every single narrative down their throat where people can't even think for themselves. Everyone is repeating, like, if you at all, I don't care what side of the political spectrum that you are on, no matter what, if you're on the left, you're repeating every single talking point from CSNBC or a Rachel Maddow show. And then the same goes for if you are on the right side, you're repeating talking points from Fox News, Sean Hannity. So it doesn't change. Everyone is just stuck in paralysis. No one can think for themselves. So I don't think a cyber pandemic needs to take place. I think that they're doing a good enough job to keep people right where they're at.
That's a really interesting fusting.
Looks like we lost Nick there for a second. But yeah, I do agree. That is a very good, interesting thought, actually. But I actually kind of tend to not that I disagree. I won't say I disagree because there doesn't need to be a cyber pandemic. There is no need for it. But I do see where it can happen. One thing that we need to remember is every single country in this world right now is fighting with each other through the cyberspace, right? They're all trying to hack each other one way or another, steal secrets, defund some type of bank account. Nick, you're frozen, by the way. I don't know. You say you're back, but you're frozen again.
No, you're good now, man.
He still looks pretty. He looks frozen on my screen. I don't know.
Oh, is he frozen on your end? He's not frozen on my end.
No, I'm not frozen on my end. It's
okay.
Miguelito. Miguelito tiene problemas, way.
No, it's not my end, but you were freezing on Monday as well.
Claro que sí, way.
So I was saying, all these countries are fighting against each other, right? The next generation of war is through the cyberspace, and they're all trying to hack each other. They're all trying to break into each other's, secret codes, secret this, bank accounts, steal money one way, sabotage things. So all these things are happening. So a cyber pandemic where a country actually achieves taking down another country's infrastructure digitally is a smart move on how to shut a country down and regain some. Right now we're seeing the situation happening, firing up with Ukraine, Russia, right? Biden saying that he's going to jump in and do something about it. And what better way than, through cyber warfare, shut a country down, or, prevent a military attack, or prevent a military, interception or something from the United States getting involved with Russia by shutting us down somehow. So that's one thing that's always very possible. Another thing that's possible is the fact that shutting down the internet would only be happening for us, the people, right? These governments, these corporations like Amazon, they have their own private lines where they're not going to go down.
So like Starlink or something, like basically their own. You think they're going to have their own?
They have their own closed loops, right? Just like the U.S. military. When the U.S. military is based in another country in the middle of a desert, how do they get internet out there? They have their own internet bases, right? That us, the regular people, don't have. So if our internet goes down, theirs won't. Theirs will still keep firing, and all it does is it keeps us not communicating, keeps us separated, and allows them to take advantage and implement certain things. We saw what happened with the fog around the world, all these emergency laws going into place. Same exact things could be happening under a cyber pandemic where there is no communication. They're just going to be implementing whatever they want left and right. And once they grab a certain amount of power, they're never going to let that power go. So those are all reasons why they might be interested in either a false flag cyber pandemic, right? Like the country doing it to itself just to be able to reclaim or gain some new level of power, or it actually does come from the external side, another country shutting us down or us shutting another country down, vice versa.
Yeah, I'm not frozen, by the way, right? Good to go.
No, I know.
Not right now.
Cool. Yeah, I think that there's so much at stake right now as it relates to crypto as a whole, and I think that the biggest part of it has to do with circles around the fact that we do have all of this debt that has to play out some way or another. You hear BitBoy talk about it. He's talking about going into deflation. I actually feel like I agree with him because, it's funny. My number one TikTok of the year, right, was talking about, and listen, there was nothing bad about it, nothing wrong about it. It was talking about the only way for our country to save itself is to basically destroy itself. I started talking about the idea of deflation and how it could basically take an already disaster and possibly over some time be able to basically repair and build itself back up. So I think that is a possibility. I know what's not a possibility in my head. Hyperinflation is not a possibility in my mind at all, because ultimately that guarantees the fact that not just the United States, but everyone that is tied in with the United States, i.e. the whole world, because we're the reserve currency, says, hey, oh yeah, by the way, did you get the memo? Your money's worthless. We printed it into oblivion. You are now the proud owner of basically a Venezuelan bolivar, right? It means absolutely nothing. So I don't see a situation where that happens. Where I think the government could really step their game up is if they would really, and they might be doing this and not telling us, I think they could ultimately pivot and embrace, Miguel, I think you started to say something about it, Ryan. I think you said something too. Basically embrace the idea of cryptocurrency and figure out a way to play ball, right? I'm not saying that they need to go full on decentralized, because I feel like at the end of the day, that could present its own problems. But they could literally take what is a great thing and play off of it. I think the biggest part is they don't want the transparency. Think about it. Literally, if I know Ryan's public wallet address right now, I can literally look up and see every transaction that he's had, how much is in the wallet, where.
But it's not. I don't think that's the big deal, because we've already known that private blockchains are possible. So that technology exists. They would just easily adopt a private blockchain or some type of blockchain that has two side chains, right? One that's private for them.
What I'm saying is why they won't want to use Bitcoin. Because why they won't want to use Bitcoin is because it is a public ledger for people to, and everybody can see what's going on. I don't think the government is going to be part of that transparency.
But they don't need to use Bitcoin. They just need to hold Bitcoin. So literally it wouldn't matter what they're doing, because if they can still be working with dollars backed by Bitcoin, right? And nobody's going to be knowing what they're doing with their dollars. We just know that whatever amount of dollars are out there, they're backed by some level of Bitcoin, and we know the overall value of the dollar based off the Bitcoin that the United States is holding.
Yeah, right, 100%.
But without some sort of a massive change, think about it. You're then kicking the can down the road again, because what you're saying is if Bitcoin takes on the debt that we have, let's say Bitcoin takes on $27 trillion, right? And it eats up the debt that we have right now, right? Let's just say it's at $1 trillion right now. It's just under, I think. That would be, and it's at $50,000. So you go 27 times that. We're at 1.35 million, if my math is correct. $1.35 million per Bitcoin. Now all of a sudden, you are basically putting the weight of all of that debt on everyone that owns Bitcoin. I don't think that works.
I think as long as Bitcoin is denominated in dollars, then I think the U.S. government will win. Because as of right now, no one denominates Bitcoin in Satoshis. Just no one does. Everyone denominates it in dollars. So I think as far as the U.S. preserving world reserve currency, we would still have to keep that denomination because people would still have to, in the back of their mind. I get what you're saying, Nick, and to a degree, I do agree with what you're saying, because that would be like highly unlikely that $27 trillion would be on top of Bitcoin, and then basically owners of Bitcoin would be okay with the risk of that debt.
That's what
I don't see. I mean, me, even as a Bitcoin maxi, I mean, if the government was like, hey, yeah, we're adopting Bitcoin today, and then said that they were just going to drop all the debt, I would be like, I'm out. Like, I love Bitcoin. I've loved it for so long, but I think I'm out. Like, just because this sounds very, very risky.
Congratulations, Bitcoin holders. You now are the proud owners of $27 trillion worth of debt.
Right. You know, like, this is that. I mean, that's the ultimate prize on The Price is Right. And the price is definitely wrong for that. So I got you. What I do think is that if everything can remain denominated in dollars, then again, we still hold that world reserve currency. Maybe not putting the full $27 trillion worth of debt, but maybe backing maybe even 20% of that with Bitcoin. I think that could be advantageous for the government as a whole. There are other assets that they should hold. I don't like gold per se, just because it returns negatively and it just doesn't do well in my portfolio. However, it's necessary to have. I think that if we can go into it's kind of like the stable coin DAI. So collateralized DAI is multiple crypto assets that back it to make it stable, not just one. So I think that if we go in that direction, or if the government wants to go in that direction where they go with multiple assets to back the dollar, one, what it will do is it will absolutely restore the confidence that people have in the dollar, and it will give everybody, I guess, a little bit more for their money. Just because right now we don't have anything for our money, like dollars are just dollars.
You're suggesting that we keep the dollar as the world reserve currency, but we actually put it back to a standard. We actually collateralize it with something again, because right now it's just turn on the money printer and let's rock and roll. Is what you're suggesting? I
mean, 100%. That's ideal for society. Now, myself as a Bitcoin maxi, no, I don't want that to happen. I would like Bitcoin just to be the world reserve currency and do away with the dollar. But you know, that's never going to happen. I know that. Yeah. I mean, I can have my dreams, but I got to be sleeping for those, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. I totally agree. I don't know where things are headed. None of us do, right?
Right.
Let's talk about the market right now. So I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I want to know, and actually, Ryan, I'd like to get your take on this. So I'm going to do a screen share here real quick. All right. So looking through the market, we are up 3.68%, which, by the way, we had a big swing today, an hour before, leading up to the meeting that we are referring to today. Okay. A big swing, because we were down multiple percentage points and then had a swing up. It was like a 10% swing within a couple hours. It was a big number. So Bitcoin, hanging at 49,013. It's up 2%. ETH, my girlfriend, she is at 4,040. She's back up over 4K. I like seeing her there. Binance Coin, 539, up 2%. Solana up 11.26%. Cardano up 4.5%. XRP up 3.77%. Polkadot, and then Avalanche. Avalanche was up like 30% earlier, but up 17.24%. So let me ask you this, Ryan. So one of the biggest topic right now, and I know everybody's going to be excited to talk about this. The biggest topic right now is, where are we going, right? So everybody knows kind of what Miguel and I think, and where, you know, Miguel says I have paper hands and that I'm going to sell at 40K and whatever. I want to know from you. You hold quite a bit of Bitcoin. You've been around for a long time. You've been around for 3 years longer than Miguel and I. Tell me where you think we're headed.
Honestly, this cycle has made me more insecure about crypto than any other cycle.
Why?
The volatility in 2013 was crazy. I was not a part of it, but I did watch it. I did not have any crypto assets then, but 2017 was also it was a pretty bumpy ride. But you know, like, it was easy to tell when to sell, as was the beginning of the middle of this cycle, which was May 2021, where, the euphoria was high. I knew that it was time to start selling some of my crypto assets, or at least taking profit, when my neighbor, who happens to be a 67-year-old single woman, told me that she bought Doge at 67 cents. And I was like, holy shit, it's time to take profit. There's no way in hell that, one, how does she know about Dogecoin? And two, you bought it at 67? Like, you didn't even look at the price history to know. Like, that's how I knew. So I think that the market, I mean, with it being very unstable, and the reason why I say it's unstable is just because this is very rare. I mean, for December price action, I was anticipating Bitcoin be around at least 85,000, so double where we're at now, at least market cap and everything else. So the fact that we're about 46% beneath where I projected, I really don't know. I'm not bearish. I'm not bearish by any means. I don't have the same price target that I had initially at the beginning of the bull run, which when I was loading up and dollar cost averaging was for Bitcoin to hit around $270,000. I don't have that same price target right now. My price target is more around $146,000.
That's still a bullish call.
Yes, very bullish. But I don't see us getting anywhere near 200,000, at least not anytime soon. So I'm still bullish, and the reason why I'm still bullish is because, again, like I mentioned, that euphoria. Bull markets end in euphoria. 2013 ended in euphoria. 2017 ended in euphoria. 2021, 2022 is going to end the exact same way in euphoria. No bull market on any planet has ever ended with everybody and their mother calling the top and saying it's time to take profit. It's just not how it works.
What would you say to the idea, and we've discussed this, what would you say to the idea of someone that said, hey, what if NFTs and the meme coins were that euphoria? They were that blow off top. They were where all that retail money went. Because if you look at the dollars, they absolutely poured into NFTs. They poured into these meme coins. If those had gone into, now I don't know the number, so I can't quote this, but if that money had poured into Bitcoin, would we have already had that blow off top?
Probably. Yeah, I would say that. I mean, from the data,
the numbers were nuts.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers either, but I know that it's insane. I mean, I've been dabbling in NFTs. I have been for a while, but I've just kind of like put a pretty big focus on it now. So I'm watching, the volume. Yeah. And the volume with NFTs is incredible, millions of dollars every single day. Mm-hmm. So it would be safe to say that, if some of that money, or most of that money, were to flow into Bitcoin, we probably would have already had that blow off top. Yeah. Is the euphoria in those coins, in meme coins, Shiba particularly, and is it in NFTs? That very well could be, but I personally don't think that, just because dumb money only does so much. Smart money is what I'm counting on, and smart money is not buying everybody's NFT. They're just not.
That's a fact. You're right about that.
100% right. My thought is that the institutions and smart money are using NFTs, play to earn, metaverses as a distraction for us regular people to stay bullish on things, because we're buying up all these NFTs and all these things are always happening right in this new space. While they keep the crypto markets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, at somewhat low prices compared to what they're supposed to be at, and they can keep loading up their bags and eventually going into an extended cycle. Do you think we're going to be going into an extended cycle, and the 4-year cycle is kind of over from now on?
I think that the bear markets, as far as historicals have shown, I think that's over with. I don't think that we're going to see just immense drops.
The 80% drops?
Yeah, the 80% corrections. I don't think so. And it's just because more so that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency itself has just become more and more mainstream. More and more people, I mean, if you look at like crypto.com, buying out, staples is huge. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest arenas in the United States. The Lakers is probably one of the most popular teams on planet Earth. So just putting crypto and giving that the forefront, I mean, it's becoming mainstream. So are people going to understand the cycles? Hell no. Most people are not. I mean, we run into this all the time where people don't do their research and they get wrecked. Most people are not going to do their research on Bitcoin. But what I will say is that Bitcoin was not created for people to get rich. It just wasn't. It was created to be the check and balance to a system that had no check or balance. So what I see happening is mainstream adoption is just going to start to realize these things. The few that are going to wake up to it, they're going to continue to buy dollar cost average. We won't see catastrophic bear markets. We probably will continue to see these 35, 39% corrections back and forth over the next few years until Bitcoin halving, where we see explosive rallies again. But I think we're done with 80% corrections. If we go deep into correction, honestly, if we're done, if 69,000 was the top, and we're assuming that all of the NFT and shitcoin money was the blow off money, I am pretty positive that we would never see 20K ever again, or sub 20K Bitcoin ever again. So if we did, the correction would have to be less than about 60%.
I have an interesting thought on this. I think that something is bad. We are locked and loaded for something wild to happen at some point soon. I hate calling it a black swan event because you hear so many people say that. But what I do think, I guess what I see a problem in our world right now, and people are utterly freaking mental right now. Some of the things that get, and I'm not talking about right, left, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying, just some of the ideas that are presented as being okay are not okay. And I see a situation where at some point, I don't know if it's going to be brief like it was for the pandemic or what, but I see at some point us having a catastrophic event happen in our society, whether it's just the United States, whether it's some sort of world war, whether it's a cyber pandemic, whether it's whatever, where we are going to have an opportunity like literally no other ever, besides maybe buying Bitcoin in 2009 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that we are going to have, maybe albeit a brief time, but an opportunity to buy. And I think, and I'll say this on the record right now, December 15th, 2021, if you don't take advantage of the opportunity when it comes, I'm talking to everybody watching, when this comes, and I truly believe it is coming, when it comes, if you do not load your bags, it might be the last stop for you to be able to truly load up and truly, in a quick short form version, create generational wealth quickly. I think other than that, we're going to continue to step.
I more and more days I keep looking at what's happening, I tend to disagree with that more. And agree with what Ryan is saying about not having these gigantic drops.
You guys are young. You guys are too young. That's what it is.
I know you've lived through the dinosaur age, and that whole thing was very catastrophic for you. But in reality, right, we're seeing more and more banks, more and more institutions loading up their bags with crypto. They would be the first ones to know when something is going to happen, right? And I do not believe that they're going to be parking their money into Bitcoin and all these other cryptos right before an 80% drop happens and they're buying the top.
I didn't say it was happening tomorrow.
No, I agree with that.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying, right? We're assuming it's going to happen sometime in 2022 and then go into a massive bear market, right? That's what you're trying to say.
How fast did the drop happen in 2018? When it actually really happened? Let's not even do that. Let's say May. Overnight, 6-figure change in my portfolio. Went to bed, it was one thing. The next morning, it was 6 figures different. Like that. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that didn't happen because randomly a whole bunch of retail traders decided one evening, you know what, I'm going to sell tonight. And it dumped the whole market by $500 billion. No, that's a coordinated effort. And so what I'm saying is they can buy, set up their short positions and dump on us again. That could be any day now. You've seen how fast that goes. The exchanges shut down. You don't have the opportunity to even get in and sell out. That's why you'll hear myself.
Then why are you worried about it?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you can't get on the exchanges, right, because they shut everything down, everything is pre-planned. It's going to happen in a snap of a finger. Just let it happen, right?
Well,
we know it's going to bounce right back.
What I'm getting at is I still think there's going to be that opportunity, and so whether I'm ready for it and I've laddered out, or whether I'm not ready for it at all and I wake up like I did in May.
But I feel like you're taking a lot more risk, right? I think because you're trying to time this a very small event at a very drastic time, right? You're trying to time try to get out at the top, near the top, and then wait for this humongous black swan event situation to happen, and then get in right there when this event happens.
What do you mean time the market? I'm just saying
you're trying to time the top and the bottom closely within a small time schedule. You're taking a lot of risk of maybe you don't get out at the top, and maybe you don't even buy the bottom, right? And you don't get that 80% drop.
But I'm not
maybe you only get a 50% drop, and you're waiting for that 80, and it's gonna blast past you. And you're going to be like those people waiting for a 20K Bitcoin in May.
I've told you all along that I'm not selling my whole portfolio when I sell, and that
I understand. I'm not saying that you're selling everything, but I'm just saying like I feel like you're taking a lot of risk trying to time that event.
No. I'm not trying to time the sell. I'm trying to say, hey, when this massive event happens, I want to be buying. That's what I'm saying.
But for you to buy, you're going to have to sell to get cash heavy.
Sure. I think you're right, though, Nick, about one thing. And what that is 100% that institutions. So you're right, Miguel, to an extent that institutions, yes, they are not going to hold underwater positions. There's no way. But to your point, Nick, they will sell. They will drop Bitcoin to whatever price point is necessary. Now, I agree with you 100%. You cannot time the market. There's no way in hell. There's not one person that can. And if you do, then you just fucking got lucky. So just don't go outside because you might get struck by lightning next. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I see it as what's going to happen if we do go into a bear market. 100%, it's going to be from institutions. It's not going to be because retail traders hopped out. Most retailers want to stay in, regardless of being underwater. Most of them, I mean, I held an underwater portfolio for years. So I'm not opposed to that. And most people in the current financial sector, like even with their 401ks, I mean, some people are still holding underwater positions. They're making a little bit of money, but not much. Or they're underwater in certain parts of their portfolio. So people are willing to hold while they're at a net or at a paper loss.
So Ryan, that's an interesting. I want to ask you this because I'll forget. You just said that you held underwater positions. I'm ADD, by the way. You just said that you've held underwater positions for a long time. We have we have Debate Crypto Academy, right? It's debatecrypto.academy, where we teach a lot of new people, just like you do in the HODL neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And so we have some people in our group that have talked about the fact that they are, quote, underwater right now. They're newer to the space. They got in at ultimately what was close to the top, and they're stressed. They're like worried. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to feel about this, that, and the third. What kind of advice would you give? Because I not to put your stuff out there, but like you've done very well with crypto. So like, what would you tell those people that are like struggling right now saying, what am I supposed to do?
Well, when your crypto portfolio is underwater, it sucks. I mean, it's really shitty. But the one piece of advice that I can give is that you got to play the long game. If you got in this like to get rich overnight, that's probably why you're getting wrecked. Is because you're buying based on your emotions, opposed to actually like what I learned. I've done the best in this particular cycle, and it's because of the last, I want to say, about 6 years of learning that holding underwater positions. I mean, for instance, I made quite a bit of money in XRP in 2017. And of course, I made money in Bitcoin. But my position in Cardano, I held for 4 years underwater, and I did buy the top of Cardano.
$1.20 or something?
I bought Cardano at $1.18, and I bought almost $100,000 worth of Cardano.
Oh my God.
At the top. And I watched that same $100,000 disappear because Cardano retraced all the way back down to 2 cents. It takes a lot of conviction. It's something that I stress a lot. It takes a lot of conviction. Now, I could have cried over Cardano and just said, it's red and but I just didn't want to. I continue to double down on what I believed about Cardano, because what led me to buying $100,000 worth of Cardano in the first place was what I believed Cardano had the potential to do. Not because of Charles. I feel like a lot of crypto investors, especially new investors, they get so hung up on the figureheads, the people who run these companies, or who they're associated with. None of that matters. I look at it as, do your research, look into the technology. Technology, ultimately, utility wins in the space. You just look at it. There's been thousands and thousands and thousands of coins. They're all dead, most of them, because they had no utility. They had utility for the moment, but it's not for the long run. So think of, I would just think of it as just what is it going to solve in the world, And if it's not going to solve anything long term, then it's probably not something you should hold long term. I have short term plays. I have long term plays. In the great words of Wendy O, have a moon bag. If you're not convicted to it, then sell your position, take your profits, and then do what you do. Move on. Keep that moon bag. If it moons, wonderful. If it goes to zero, even better.
Yeah, this is why. So this comment right here, Arnie, I would just say this is the reason why I'm so hard on people about meme coins, because I feel, bro, like I feel in my heart for you for this comment right here, because it's like you got in because everybody's talking about this thing that's going to change your life, or that's going to give you the opportunity to turn, a little amount into a huge amount, right? And ultimately, the reality is, unfortunately, life doesn't really work like that, but it's presented that way. And it's presented that way on cost basis. It says, hey, this thing's 0.0000006 cents. So therefore, I can put $1,000 in and I've got 1 billion of them. If it only goes to a penny, right, I've got, $10 million or what, you know what I mean? Like but it sets you up for unrealistic expectations of return. So part of where I resonate with what Ryan was just saying, actually I resonate with all of it, but part of where I really resonate is the fact that Bitcoin is here and not going anywhere because it truly solves a problem. It has more than just tokenomics. I think so many of these projects come out with the idea that if I can show you that the numbers look right, then people are going to get into it. And it's just a marketing ploy. It is nothing more than selling an idea to you, the consumer, and you are buying it and supporting it by paying for these tokens. When I ask people that are new to the space, when they buy something, some sort of a random crap coin, right? And you say, oh, really? Why'd you get into that one? I have yet to have one person ever give me a utility answer. They always give me the answer of, well, I mean, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to make like a bunch of money on it. Like, why else would I get into it, right? Which I get it, right? I got into crypto originally. I'd be lying if I said I got into it for the tech. I got into it because I said, you know what? I hate these freaking banks. I see this being a viable freaking source that could head somewhere. Oh yeah, by the way, I can make a lot of money doing this, right? And so it has panned out. So I guess what I just want to kind of jump on the back of what Ryan just said is that long game piece is so freaking important, because Miguel and I both have had underwater positions for a long time too. There's 3 people on this stream that have made the mistakes, that have lived through some crap, that have seen a chunk of money turn into a little money. And I love Miguel's story about how like his whole family, I'll let him tell it, but his whole family just absolutely slaying him, telling him how stupid he is for buying cryptocurrency. Am I wrong, Miguel? That's what happened, right?
That's what happened for multiple years. Yeah.
And I just think that too many times it's the attitude of the investor getting in, and it's not the investor's fault. It's the way it's presented without the education on the front end. That's why we always preach, and I think you do with the HODL neighborhood too, like educate yourself so that then you can make good decisions. We have the Bitcoin standard. We always preach the Bitcoin standard sitting over, over my right shoulder here. And
Got a copyright behind me.
yeah, and it gets into really like, what is this thing? What is it? How is it going to change my life, the world around me? And if a token or an asset, if you can answer the question in that form, right? If I say to you, hey, why do you like the graph? And your answer is, well, I mean, basically, it's a search query like Google of blockchain, and that's your answer. I'm like, damn, okay, get it, right? That makes sense. So I just wish that more often we got people that got into the market with that type of a mentality that I'm going to buy into something that's going to change how things operate in one way or another. So, well, it's coming up on an hour, guys. We are super happy. Ryan, first of all, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate
man. Thank you for coming on, dude.
We hope that we all get out of any underwater positions we might have, albeit maybe the three of us now don't have underwater positions, but we hope
I'm still
you guys.
I'm still swimming in some. So
you're still swimming in some. Okay,
it just is what it is. Yeah, ICP is one of them.
Oh yeah, dude. Tell me you didn't buy that right on the right.
No, I didn't buy it at the top. Honestly, like I still got a pretty okay fill, but I mean, I initially bought in at about $80. And I knew it was going to go a little bit lower, so I was just dollar cost averaging. And then I got, I went all in at $40 because I was like, okay, there's got to be a floor here somewhere. It's close, and then the floor was at around 20, so I was 50%
back down that low.
Yeah, and then so it was around 50%. I mean, like I'm still underwater, but I'm going to continue to hold it. I think that ICP had a rough start, but I do think that there is potential. But the one thing that I just want to leave everyone with is that crypto is an emerging space. And with that, you are investing into the technology. Making money is a byproduct of the solution. Okay. Stop investing into the profits because in a lot of cases, they won't be there. But if you are investing into the solution, I promise you the profit is always there.
Man. Hey, listen, preach, brother. Preach.
That was said amazingly. Yeah,
I have not heard it said like that. I love that, guys. So thank you very much for coming on, man. Crypto fam, if you are in the chat, before we jump out, X out real quick, smash a like. It's literally the most important thing that YouTube says. Hey, make sure you get people to tell us that they like you. So we appreciate that. And as a reminder, we are doing $500 just one more time on December 23rd. That is just all you have to do is be subscribed. Listen, all of Ryan's socials are down in the description. So I know you guys want to check him out. Literally all of his socials are down there. So make sure that you guys check that out. I asked him to send me his socials, right? And I get like a book. And I was like, yeah, this brother's ready. He is ready. So Crypto fam, if nobody's told you before today, we love you. We hope you guys have a great